That was the thought that crossed my mind as I lay there in the dark, staring at the glowing screen on my nightstand. My husband, Marcus, slept beside me, his back turned toward me, his breathing deep and steady. The kind of sleep you fall into only when you believe you've made all the right choices in life, or when you believe no one's watching you fall apart. But I was awake, and the phone kept ringing. At first, I thought maybe it was my sister calling about our father's blood pressure again, or maybe one of my coworkers from the nursing unit where I spent most of my waking hours. But the name on the screen didn't match anyone I knew. Unknown number. A chill crawled up my arms. Not fear, no. It felt more like a warning, a whisper in the dark. Marcus didn't stir. He never did when something was for me. I hesitated only a second before answering. "Hello?" I whispered. For a moment, there was nothing, just soft breathing on the other end, shaky, uneven, as if the person didn't know whether to speak or hang up. Then a woman's voice, small, fragile. "I'm sorry to call like this, but I didn't know who else to tell." I sat up slowly in bed, brushing my hair off my face. "Who is this?" She sniffled. "My name is Alana, and your husband gave me your number." My heart stopped, just like that, completely still in my chest. Marcus slept on, unmoved, as if this entire moment didn't belong to his life at all. My husband?" I repeated, each word scratching its way out of my throat. "Yes," she said. I'm pregnant, and he won't answer my calls." Every sound in the room seemed to disappear. The hum of the air conditioning, the ticking clock, even Marcus's slow breathing, all of it faded beneath the ringing that filled my ears. Pregnant? My husband? With another woman? I didn't answer. I couldn't. "I'm sorry," she whispered again. "I didn't know what else to do. He told me he was leaving you." My mouth went dry, trembling open, but no words came out. "Leaving me? Marcus? The same Marcus who kissed me goodbye every morning, who held my hand in the kitchen when I cooked, who promised me every year that next year will be our year to start trying again." I froze, phone pressed to my ear, trying to breathe. "I need to talk to him," she said, desperation cracking her voice. "Please, I'm not asking for anything else." My entire body felt cold. "Where did you meet him?" "At work. He said he travels for business a lot, so we didn't see each other often, but he told me he loved me. He told me he wanted a future." Her voice broke, and something inside me did too. I opened my mouth to speak, to ask, to demand, to cry, but the words never came, because suddenly the woman gasped. "Oh no, please, I'm sorry, I can't." The line went dead, just like that. I sat there, phone still in my hand, staring into the darkness. Marcus shifted beside me, but didn't wake, didn't even turn over. And I realized in that moment, painfully, clearly, that I had no idea who this man lying next to me really was. It's strange how even after a moment that shatters everything, your body still moves like it remembers normal life, like it refuses to accept the truth all at once. At 6:45 a.m., when Marcus's alarm buzzed, I was already sitting at the edge of the bed, dressed for my shift, my hair tied back neatly, just like any other morning. He stretched, groaning a little the way he always did. "Morning, babe." Babe. The word hit me differently, like it had rust in it. "Morning," I said softly. He didn't notice my voice was thinner than usual. He didn't notice the way my back stayed straight or how my eyes were fixed on the floor instead of on him. He never noticed the small things anymore. Coffee? I asked, standing and smoothing the sheets automatically. Please, he said, already grabbing his phone with that greedy, half-distracted look he always wore before work. I walked to the kitchen with my heart beating too loudly in my chest. The smell of the morning, warm coffee beans, toasted bread, the faint lemon scent of the dish soap felt almost cruel, like the world expected everything to continue as usual. I poured his coffee, watching the steam rise from the mug. My fingers trembled, but I wrapped both hands around the cup to steady them. When he walked in, tie half done, I studied him. Really studied him. Marcus was handsome. Everyone always said that. Clean-cut, polished. The kind of man mothers wanted for their daughters. Broad shoulders, that controlled smile, the gentle confidence in his walk. But now everything about him looked staged. He kissed me casually. Thanks, babe. I've got a busy day today, prep for the trip this weekend. That word, trip, pierced my chest like a thorn. I swallowed. Where are you going again? He didn't even pause. Chicago. Conference. A conference. Sure. He took 2 sips of his coffee and grabbed his bag. You'll be okay without me, right? My stomach twisted. That woman's voice echoed in my mind. He told me he was leaving you. I forced a nod. Marcus smiled. Good. I'll bring you something back. He always did that. Little gifts to distract from long absences. Scarves, keychains, chocolates, souvenirs of the life he lived without me. He kissed me again, this time on the forehead. I love you, babe. I stared at him, trying to recognize the man I had married 10 years ago. The man who held my hand through miscarriages. The man who cried with me in the hallway when the doctors told us to stop trying for a while. The man who promised me he'd never leave me no matter what kids we have or don't have. But now I wasn't sure any of it had been real. I love you too, I whispered automatically, and it was only after the door closed behind him that the word tasted bitter on my tongue. Work felt like a blur. I checked vitals, I charted notes, I smiled at patients, but behind every task that woman's voice played on a loop. Your husband gave me your number. I'm pregnant. He told me he was leaving you. By 3 p.m., I had replayed the call so many times I started doubting myself. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe she had the wrong man. Wrong number. Maybe my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Please don't ignore me. I really need help. My throat tightened. It was her. Alana. Before I could type anything back, she sent another message. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have called last night. I didn't mean to scare you. Scare me? No, she hadn't scared me. She had woken me up. I typed slowly, fingers trembling over the screen. How do you know my husband? The dots appeared, then stopped, appeared again. Finally, because I've been seeing him for 7 months. I closed my eyes, breath shaken. 7 months. 7 months of him coming home tired? 7 months of late-night emails? 7 months of canceled date nights, sudden trips, extra meetings. 7 months of me believing he was trying to rebuild our marriage while he was building a secret life with someone else. And I felt something inside me harden. Not anger, not yet. Just clarity. A silent, cold clarity. This was the first crack in the story Marcus had been selling me for nearly a year. And I knew I wasn't finished learning the truth. Not even close. I don't know how I made it home that evening. My hands were trembling so badly on the steering wheel that twice I had to pull over just to breathe. My mind kept repeating the same thought over and over like a broken record. Maybe it's a misunderstanding. Maybe Sophia didn't mean it. Maybe Marcus didn't understand what she wanted. But deep down, somewhere in the quiet place I didn't want to touch, I already knew. No misunderstanding could explain the way Marcus looked at me in that office. No misunderstanding could explain the desperation in his voice when he said Sophia tried to flirt with him. Still, it was Sophia, my sister, my baby. I raised her. I protected her. I gave her everything I could. How could she even think of doing this? By the time I reached home, the sun had already set, and the living room was covered in a heavy, dim orange glow from the street lamp outside. I sat on the couch without turning on the lights. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't move. I just sat there in the darkness, listening to the clock tick on the wall like it was counting down to something I couldn't see yet. 20 minutes later, the front door opened. Sophia's footsteps were unmistakable. Quick, light, familiar. The same footsteps I heard when she was 12, running to show me her drawings. The same footsteps she used when she came home late from school and tried to sneak past me. The same footsteps she had when she'd crawl into my bed in the middle of the night after a nightmare. She walked in with her usual bright tone. "Ate, you're home early. Why are all the lights off?" I didn't respond. She paused, then flicked on the switch. Warm light flooded the room, and she immediately sensed the heaviness in the air. "What's wrong?" she asked. Her voice was soft, too soft, like she knew something was coming. I turned my head slowly towards her. "Sit down." She froze. "Why? What happened?" "Sit down." She hesitated, then lowered herself onto the chair across from me. Her face was confused, but there was something else there too. Something almost like fear. I took a deep breath. "I went to see Marcus today." Her eyes flickered, just for a moment, but I caught it. "The employees told me you've been visiting his office every day." Her expression tightened. "They said that? Ate, they exaggerate. And they also told me," I continued, my voice steady, "that you've been bringing him lunch, coffee, that you've been getting close to him." She swallowed. Hard. "Ate, listen. Did you or did you not go to his office every day?" She hesitated, and that hesitation was an answer. The anger that had been sitting in my chest all afternoon flared up, hot and sharp. "Why, Sophia?" My voice cracked. "Why would you do that? After everything Marcus and I have been through, after everything I have done for you." She lips trembled, her eyes filled with tears, but I didn't soften. Not this time. "You were supposed to be the one person in this world I never had to worry about. The one person I could trust without thinking." She covered her face with her hands. "Ate, please, let me explain." "Then explain." She was shaking. The room was painfully silent. It felt like the air itself was holding its breath. Finally, she lowered her hands, and when she looked up, there was something in her expression I'd never seen before. Something raw. Something terrified. I didn't mean for anything to happen." She whispered, "Then why did you go there, Sophia? Why, every day?" She took a shaky breath. "Because that's the only place where I felt noticed." My heart dropped. "What? I'm always the little sister, Ate. I'm always the one who needs help, the one you rescue, the one who depends on you, the one who watches your life from the side. Every time you introduce me to someone, I'm just the girl who stays with her older sister." She wiped her tears with the back of her hand. "And Marcus, he's different. He talks to me like I'm not invisible. He listens to me. He asks how I'm doing. He treats me like an adult." My stomach twisted.
"Is that why you flirted with him?" I asked quietly. "No," she cried. "I didn't flirt. I just wanted someone to see me, to see that I exist, that I'm more than just the girl standing behind you." The words hit me like a punch because she wasn't wrong. I had taken care of her so much, fed her, clothed her, protected her, that maybe somewhere along the way I forgot to let her grow, forgot that she needed to be her own person, not just my responsibility. But still, what she did hurt deeply. "So you wanted attention," I said. "But why Marcus? Why my partner?" She shook her head. "No, I didn't flirt. I just wanted someone to see me, to see that I exist, that I'm more than just the girl standing behind you. Safe. Safe." The word echoed in my head like thunder. "So you kept visiting him? You kept talking to him? You kept showing up even after his employees got uncomfortable?" She looked down, ashamed. "Yes," she whispered. "And you didn't think how that might affect me?" She bit her lip, tears rolling down her cheeks. "I didn't think he would tell you," she said in a small voice. That was the moment everything inside me went cold. "You weren't afraid of hurting me. You were afraid of being caught." She didn't answer, because she didn't have to. That silence was the answer. I stood up from the couch. My legs felt weak, but I forced myself to stand tall. "Sophia, I love you. You know I do. But what you did, I'm sorry," she whispered through her tears. "Ate, please, I'm so sorry." Sorry doesn't fix this. And it doesn't erase what you risked. She reached for my hand. I stepped back. Her face crumpled instantly. "Ate, please don't look at me like that." But I couldn't help it. Because in that moment, the truth was clear. The person I trusted most, the person I devoted my life to, the person I believed would never hurt me, just had. And the worst part? This wasn't the end. This was only the beginning. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the quiet hum of the fan and the occasional car passing outside. My chest felt heavy, like someone was sitting on it, making every breath feel shallow and forced. Sophia hadn't come out of her room after our argument. I heard her crying softly through the wall at first. Then the apartment went silent. Too silent. I kept replaying her words in my mind. "I didn't think he would tell you. Not, I didn't mean to hurt you. Not, I see how wrong this is. Not, I love you." Just fear. Fear of exposure. Fear of consequences. Not guilt. By sunrise, I decided I couldn't carry this weight alone. I needed answers. Real answers. Not the panicked, half-true explanation Sophia gave me. I needed to hear Marcus explain everything from the beginning, without the tension, without the interruptions, without my sister in the room. So at 7:15 a.m. sharp, I got dressed, grabbed my keys, and drove straight to his house. Marcus looked half asleep when he opened the door, hair messy, t-shirt wrinkled, but his eyes widened instantly when he saw me. "Baby, what are you doing here this early?" I stepped inside without speaking. He closed the door behind me, sensing something was wrong. "Sit," I said quietly. He didn't argue. We sat across from each other at his small dining table. the morning light filtering in through the blinds. I folded my hands on the table. "Tell me everything," I said, "from the beginning. Don't protect her. Don't protect me. Just tell the truth." Marcus exhaled slowly, then rubbed his face with both hands. "Okay," he said, "you deserve that." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "She started showing up months ago. At first, I didn't think anything of it. She was friendly, she asked about work, she asked about you. I thought she was just being supportive." I nodded stiffly. "But then it became consistent. Daily. She'd bring coffee, lunch, sometimes snacks. She said you were too busy to come by, and she didn't want me to feel lonely at work." I clenched my jaw. "That sounds like something she'd say." "It did," he agreed. "And that's why I didn't question it at first." He leaned back, staring up at the ceiling for a moment. "But then she started staying longer, asking personal questions, complimenting me, standing too close sometimes." My stomach tightened. "How close?" Marcus swallowed. "Close enough that I had to take a step back." The image made my chest twist. "And you never told me?" he asked. "I didn't want you to worry. I thought she'd stop." "But she didn't," I said sharply. "No," he admitted. "She didn't." He hesitated again. And then he said something I wasn't prepared for. 2 weeks ago, she told me she felt like you didn't appreciate her anymore. I froze. "She said," he continued carefully, "that she does everything for you, but you don't see her, that you treat her like a child, that she wished you would let her be independent." A quiet, shaky breath escaped me. Sophia's words echoed in my mind from last night. "I'm always behind you. Nobody sees me. I didn't choose him. He just made me feel noticed." Marcus looked at me, his voice gentle. "I'm not saying this to hurt you. I'm saying it because you need to understand where her head was." I ran my fingers through my hair, overwhelmed. "So she confided in you about me?" I whispered. "Yes." "And you listened?" I did. He didn't sugarcoat it. He didn't lie. I listened because she seemed lost, and because she's your sister. I didn't think she would cross a line. I thought she just needed someone to talk to. I closed my eyes. "Marcus, did she ever say she had feelings for you?" He hesitated. Too long. "Marcus," he exhaled, defeated. "She never said it directly, but it felt implied. She'd make comments like, 'You deserve someone who truly sees you,' or 'I understand you more than Ate does.' Things like that." My heart cracked open. "And what did you say?" I whispered. "I told her she was confused, that she needed to talk to you, that whatever she was feeling wasn't appropriate." I looked at him carefully, watching his face for any sign of guilt. "Did you ever give her the wrong idea?" I asked quietly, "even accidentally?" "No," he said firmly. "Never. I'm with you. I've always been with you." I searched his eyes, and I believed him. He wasn't perfect, but he wasn't a liar, and he wasn't the villain in this. The villain was something bigger, something more complicated, something that had been growing between my sister and I long before Marcus ever came into the picture. Marcus reached across the table and gently touched my hand. "I didn't tell you earlier because I didn't want to cause tension between you two. But when I saw her getting bolder, and when the office started talking, I knew I had to be honest." A tear finally slipped down my cheek. Not from anger, not from betrayal,
but from exhaustion, pure, bone-deep exhaustion. "Marcus, I don't know what to do," I whispered. He squeezed my hand. "Talk to her again." I shook my head. "She lied." He corrected softly. "She panicked. She's wrong, but she's not evil." I didn't want to hear that. Not yet. Not today. He continued, choosing his words carefully. "Sophia isn't trying to steal me, baby. She's trying to steal something else." I frowned. "What?" His voice dropped to almost a whisper. "Your space." I stared at him, confused. "Your place in her life," he explained. "You've always been her protector, her voice, her anchor. But she's grown now, and she doesn't know how to be anything other than the girl who depends on you. So instead of finding her identity, she reached for yours." My lips parted because suddenly it made too much sense. Painfully, frighteningly, deeply too much sense. "She was trying to become you," he said gently, "not replace you." I felt a shiver run down my spine. Not because of his words, but because I knew he was right. I stood up slowly. "I need to go," I whispered. Marcus didn't stop me. As I stepped outside into the morning air, one truth settled into my bones. This wasn't about love. This wasn't about Marcus. This wasn't even about betrayal. This was about two sisters standing at the edge of a lifetime of unspoken things, and one of us was about to fall. I drove without a destination. The city passed by in slow, blurry motions, people walking dogs, kids waiting for the school bus, stores just beginning to open. The world looked painfully normal, as if my entire life wasn't unraveling thread by thread. Eventually, I pulled over at a small park near my mother's old neighborhood, a place I hadn't visited since my mother's funeral. The silence felt familiar. The emptiness felt honest. I sat on a bench facing the duck pond, hugging my arms around myself. The water was still, the air cool, and for a moment, I let myself breathe. Just breathe. At 10:44 a.m., my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number, but something in me said, "Answer it." "Hello?" A female voice replied. Soft, unsure, trembling. Hi. Is this Ate Mariel?" My heart dropped. I knew that voice. I had heard it only once before, the night she called Marcus. It was the woman. But hearing her speak now, she didn't sound seductive, bold, or confident, like Sophia had described. She sounded broken. "This is Marielle," I said carefully. "Who is this?" A shaky breath came through the line. "My name is Ellie, and I'm the one who called your husband." I froze, every muscle tightening. My first instinct was anger, cold, sharp anger. But something in her tone held me still. "I'm not calling to cause trouble," she continued quickly. I need to explain something before things get worse." "Before what gets worse?" I asked cautiously. There was silence. Then a tiny, fragile voice said, "I'm not pregnant." The words echoed in the air around me. For a few seconds, I couldn't respond. My throat closed, my thoughts scattered. "You're not pregnant?" I finally whispered. "No," she said, starting to cry softly. "I never was." I stood up from the bench as if someone had jolted electricity through my body. "Then why would you say something like that?" I demanded, my voice trembling now too. "Because someone told me to," she whispered. My breath caught. "Who?" Ellie didn't answer, but I already knew. I already felt it. "Sophia," I said into the silence. A small, broken yes came through the line. I closed my eyes tightly, my hand covering my mouth. Everything in me sank. But why? I whispered. Ellie sniffed, her voice shaking harder. She came to me at work. She said she needed help, that she needed to teach her brother-in-law a lesson. She said you weren't appreciating him and that you needed to be woken up before you lost him. I felt sick. Actual physical nausea rolled through me. She told me you two were on the verge of separation, Ellie continued, her voice cracking. She said he was thinking about leaving and that you were ignoring him. She made it sound like I'd be protecting your marriage by scaring him. I sat back down slowly, my knees weakening. And the pregnancy? I asked in a hoarse voice. She told me to say it. Ellie sobbed. She said it was the only way to get you to take the situation seriously. The coldness of those words washed over me like ice water. My own sister. My baby sister. Manipulating a stranger into detonating a bomb in my marriage, one she knew wasn't real. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, trying not to fall apart. Why are you telling me this now? I whispered. More silence. Then, because she came back yesterday, Ellie said quietly. She was angry. She said things were getting complicated. She told me not to contact either of you. Again. I swallowed. But she also said, Ellie continued, her voice trembling, that she was going to finish what she started. And I don't know what that means, Ate. I'm scared. She wasn't calm the way she was before. She looked desperate. My breath hitched. Desperate. A word that had been circling in my mind since this began. I stared at the pond without seeing it.
Ellie sniffed again. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know she was lying about everything. I never meant to hurt you. Her voice felt genuine, painfully so. And then she said the thing that chilled me the most. Sophia told me that if I didn't help her, she'd tell the office that I'd been flirting with your husband for months. My breath stopped. She blackmailed her. My sweet-looking little sister blackmailed a woman I had never even met. I felt a wave of heat flush through me, anger, betrayal, heartbreak, all mixing together until I couldn't tell where one emotion ended and another began. Where are you now? I asked shakily. I'm at work. I can come to you if you want. I just thought you deserved to know the truth. I considered her offer, but before I could answer, she said, I'm not the only one she told the story to. My heart dropped again. What do you mean? She told other people, Ate. People at the office. She said you're controlling, that Marcus comes to work tired and unhappy. She was making people suspicious of your marriage. I thought you should know. My hand flew to my chest. My sister wasn't just jealous. She wasn't just lost. She was sabotaging me. Piece by piece, breath by breath, not to steal Marcus, but to destroy the image of the life I had built. I took a slow, shaky inhale. Ellie, I said quietly, thank you for calling. I'm so sorry, Ata. I know. Before we ended the call, she whispered one last thing. She said something yesterday, something that scared me. What? She said, she's coming to your house. I didn't respond. I couldn't, because in that moment, I felt it, a deep, instinctive certainty. Sophia wasn't done. She was coming, and she wasn't coming to apologize. I drove home with my hands clenched around the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. Traffic blurred past me, my thoughts racing faster than the cars on the highway. Every red light, every stop sign felt like a countdown,
A slow, dreadful march towards something I could feel but not yet see. Ellie's words replayed in my mind on a loop. She said she's coming to your house. She said she'd finish what she started. By the time I reached my street, my stomach was in knots. I parked in the driveway and sat there for a moment, trying to steady my breathing. The house looked exactly the same. The cream walls, the neat garden, the curtain slightly drawn in the living room window. But everything felt different, like there was a shadow stretching over the roof. I stepped inside quietly. Marcus wasn't home yet. The silence wrapped around me, thick and heavy. I took off my shoes, placed my keys on the table, and walked into the kitchen, trying to gather myself. I poured a glass of water, but my hand trembled so badly that the glass clinked against the faucet. I took a sip, then another. I should call Marcus, I thought. I should warn him. But then another thought followed, softer, sadder. Would he even believe me anymore? Before I could decide, I heard the sound. 3 slow knocks. Not frantic, not panicked, just deliberate. Knock, knock, knock. I froze. My heart lodged itself in my throat, because I knew that knock. My sister had always knocked like that, 3 even taps, like she was keeping rhythm to some song only she could hear. I set the glass down carefully, wiped my palms on my jeans, and walked toward the door. My breath was shallow, my hands cold. I opened the door, and there she was, Sophia. Her hair was pulled back messily, dark circles under her eyes, makeup smudged. She looked nothing like the polished, Instagram-perfect woman she always presented herself as. She looked unhinged. Her lips curled into a small, eerie smile. "Hi, Ate," she said softly. I didn't speak. For a moment, we just stared at each other. 2 women born of the same mother, raised under the same roof, now standing on opposite ends of a storm she created. "Can I come in?" she asked. Her voice was calm, too calm. I swallowed. "Why are you here, Sophia?" She tilted her head, eyes narrowing slightly. "You've been ignoring me. You lied to me." Her smile twitched. I didn't lie. Not really. I felt heat crawl up my neck. I gripped the doorframe to steady myself. "Sophia," I said quietly, "I know everything." She blinked once, slowly. "Everything?" Ellie called me. A flicker, just a tiny one, passed across her face. Then it was gone. She took a small step forward, folding her arms tightly. So, she talked. She told me the truth. The real truth. Sophia's jaw tightened. "She's lying." She said you forced her. "She's lying." She said you told people at Marcus's work that our marriage was falling apart. "She's lying." She said you told her to pretend to be pregnant. Sophia's breath hitched, very faintly, and she looked away. I pressed harder. "Why, Sophia? Why would you do something like this? To me? To your own sister?" Her eyes snapped back at mine. And then something inside her broke open. "You never listen," she burst out. "You never pay attention until something big happens. Marcus listens. He always listens." I felt my stomach twist. "This isn't about Marcus," I whispered. "This is about you. This is about you ignoring me my whole life." She spat, voice trembling. "You and Marcus, you have this perfect little life. The house, the dinners, the vacations, the love. It's easy for you. Everything is easy for you. And you think destroying it will make you feel better?" I asked softly. She blinked rapidly, lips trembling. "He should have chosen me." The world tilted. I stared at her. Really stared. "What did you just say?" I whispered. "He should have chosen me." She repeated, her voice cracking. I tried so hard to get him to see it, to see me. I tried everything, but he kept choosing you. Always you. Air left my lungs in one painful sweep. You're my sister, I said in disbelief. My husband. Sophia, that's... She stepped closer, eyes wild. You took everything first. Why shouldn't I take something too? I staggered back, not because she frightened me, but because I finally understood. This wasn't jealousy. This wasn't insecurity. This wasn't a phase. My sister wasn't trying to steal Marcus. She wasn't trying to break my home. She was trying to replace me. Sophia, my voice trembled. Did something happen between you and Marcus? Did he ever? No, she snapped, fury in her voice. He didn't even look at me. He barely knew I existed. She sucked in a breath, shaking. So I made him look. I made both of you look. My throat tightened painfully. You sent a woman to pretend she was pregnant? You tried to ruin my marriage because you felt invisible? She lifted your chin. You're finally talking to me now, aren't you? My heart broke. Not because of what she had done, but because she truly believed this was the only way she could be seen. Sophia, you need help, I said gently. Her eyes hardened instantly. I don't need help. I need you to understand. But before either of us could speak again, a car pulled into the driveway. Marcus. Sophia's eyes gleamed, almost like she'd been waiting for this moment, like it was a stage and she was ready for the final act. She smiled, a small, chilling smile. Good, she whispered. He's home. Marcus stepped out of the car with a grocery bag in one hand, keys in the other. He glanced toward the door, saw the two of us standing there, and paused mid-step. Confusion crossed his face first, then caution, then something like dread. Marielle? He called out slowly. What's going on? Sophia turned toward him with a smile that made my stomach twist. Hi, Kuya Marcus. He froze. He had never liked that she called him that. It always sounded too familiar, too intimate. Today, it sounded like a warning. Marcus looked at me for answers, his brow furrowed. Is everything okay? I stepped aside, letting him walk toward us. As he reached the porch, Sophia shifted her stance, one foot slightly forward, shoulders pulled back like she was preparing for a performance. I came to clear the air, she said sweetly. Marcus looked at her, then at me, then back at her again. What air? He asked. Sophia let out a soft, almost dramatic sigh. The air between us, she said. Between you and me? She nodded, touching her chest delicately. Yes, us. He stared at her baffled. There is no us, Sophia. A little laugh slipped from her lips. Oh, Marcus, you really don't see it, do you? My breath caught. Marcus looked like someone had poured ice water down his back. Sophia, I need you to explain exactly what you mean. She stepped closer to him, lowering her voice. I think it's time you stop pretending. I know you feel it too. He instantly retreated a step, as if burned. Sophia, what are you talking about? There's nothing between us. She smiled wider. Not yet. My heart dropped. Marcus ran a hand through his hair, stunned. Sophia, what is she talking about? I forced myself to stay calm, because the truth had to come out clean, steady, and whole. Sophia told another woman to call you pretending to be pregnant, I said quietly. Marcus paled, staring at me in shock. What? She blackmailed her. threatened her job, told her to lie, all of it. His eyes widened further. Sophia, you did that. She didn't flinch. She wasn't supposed to tell. I should have chosen someone more grateful. Marcus looked physically sick. You used someone to destroy my marriage? He asked, voice trembling. Sophia shrugged lightly. You two weren't appreciating each other. I was helping. Helping? His voice cracked. You nearly ripped our whole life apart. Sophia's smile faded. Instead, she lifted her chin stubbornly. She was ignoring you. She takes you for granted. You deserve someone who understands you, someone who listens. Marcus stared at her, really stared, and then something inside him hardened. You manipulated someone into lying about a pregnancy. You tried to sabotage my reputation at work. You hurt your own sister. I was trying to help you, she yelled, her voice splintering. No, he said firmly. You were trying to replace her. The truth struck the air like lightning. Sophia's mouth fell open. You don't mean that. I do. His voice was steady now, firm, grounded. She shook her head rapidly. No, you're just saying that because she's here. Sophia, he said quietly, I have never, not once, seen you as anything other than my wife's sister, and I never will. She stumbled a step back. The rejection, the clarity of it, hit her like a slap. You're lying, she whispered. I'm not. Her breathing turned ragged, her eyes darting between us. Then, suddenly, she laughed, a bitter, shaky laugh. So that's it. You choose her again? Yes, Marcus said without hesitation. Yes, I choose my wife, always. Sophia's face crumpled, but instead of crying, she turned to me with a venomous glare. This is your fault. My voice was steady. Steadier than I felt inside. No, Sophia, this is your doing. You hurt people because you felt hurt. You created a lie because you felt unseen. But you crossed every boundary. You crossed into my marriage. That marriage doesn't even make you happy. She snapped. My heart pounded painfully. You don't get to decide that, I said softly. Her shoulders shook with anger, frustration, jealousy, grief. I couldn't tell which. Marcus spoke again, quieter this time. You need help, Sophia. She laughed again, empty and hollow. No, I need you to stop pretending. Marcus moved closer to me, taking my hand in his. A gesture I wasn't prepared for. Not after all the damage done. But in that moment, I let him. Because his voice was trembling. His hand was cold. And I could feel how afraid he was of losing everything. Marielle and I, he said clearly, we're going to fix this together. You won't be part of it. For the first time, Sophia didn't have a comeback. She stared at our intertwined hands. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. Then she whispered something so soft I almost didn't hear it. I just wanted to matter. My chest tightened painfully. Marcus stepped forward slightly, not reaching for her, but acknowledging the tiny, vulnerable truth hidden beneath the chaos she'd created. You do matter, he said quietly, but not like this. Never like this. Her eyes glistened. For a moment, she looked like the little girl she once was, the one who clung to my arm on the first day of school because she didn't want to walk alone. Then she stepped back, one step, another. And then she turned and walked down the driveway, slowly, shoulders slumped, like the weight of everything she'd done was finally settling on her. She didn't look back. Not once. Marcus let out a shaky breath and sank onto the porch chair. I didn't sit. I couldn't. The silence between us wasn't angry. It was heavy, bruised, and full of unspoken things we weren't ready to touch yet. After a long moment, Marcus whispered, "What do we do now?" I looked at him, really looked, at the man who broke my trust, who failed me, but who also stood firmly against something he didn't see coming. "We heal," I said softly. "But not today," he nodded, eyes full of guilt and something like hope. And inside me, a shift began. Not forgiveness, not yet, but the first breath of clarity, the knowledge that the worst was out, the storm had broken, and now there was only truth left to face. I stared at the message on my sister Mariam's phone for far too long, even after the screen dimmed and faded to black. My reflection looked back at me tired, confused, betrayed, and yet not surprised. A part of me had felt something twisting inside my chest for months, but I kept shoving it down, because denial was easier than truth. "I miss you too. Same time tonight?" The words echoed in my mind like a hammer striking metal. Tonight? So this wasn't old, this wasn't over, this was active, ongoing, happening behind my back while I was cooking meals for her, trusting her, defending her, believing every trembling word she said. My hands were shaking, but my body felt cold. Not the kind of cold you feel on your skin. This one seeped into the bones. I placed the phone back exactly where it had fallen. Same angle, same screen facing down. I didn't want her to know I saw it. Not yet. Because something inside me whispered, "Don't react. Watch. Observe. Let her show you who she really is." I stood up and walked towards the kitchen counter to rebuild a normal expression on my face, trying to steady my breath. But as I stood there staring at the kettle, I realized I didn't even remember boiling water. A few seconds later, I heard her footsteps. Light, casual, the same footsteps of the sister I used to know. She appeared at the doorway. "Ti chal banai?" she asked cheerfully, tying her hair into a messy bun. I forced a smile. Almost ready." She moved around the kitchen, humming some silly song under her breath, completely unaware that every move she made felt like sandpaper scraping against my nerves. When she reached the counter to grab a biscuit, her phone buzzed again from the sofa. That same vibration, that same rhythmic buzz. It felt like it was vibrating inside my chest this time. She froze for a split second, her back facing me. That pause told me everything. She wasn't humming anymore. Her shoulders stiffened. She knew exactly who it was. I watched her walk too quickly, too eagerly to check the message. She hid the screen with her palm like a child hiding candy. Her thumbs flew across the keypad, and I thought, this is my sister, my blood, the person I raised like my own daughter, the one I shared everything with, even my secrets. How long has she been lying to me? And why? Why him? The weight of that question felt like someone pressing a stone into my chest. She came back to the kitchen with the fakest, stiffest smile. So, कल डॉक्टर के पास जाना है ना? किस वक्त चलना है? I kept stirring my tea, even though the sugar had long dissolved.
Subah, I replied quietly. My own voice sounded distant. Okay. She took a sip and pretended everything was normal. Too normal. When she looked away, the tiniest flicker of guilt crossed her face. I saw it. Oh, I saw it clearly. And it hurt. God, it hurt more than anything I've ever felt. I was folding laundry in my room when I heard the door of the guest bathroom close softly, too softly. Then the click of a lock. Normally, I wouldn't care. People need privacy. But now? Now, my ears were open in ways they never were before. A few seconds later, I heard her whispering. My sister doesn't whisper. She is loud, careless, expressive. Her voice fills rooms without trying. But here she whispered, like someone speaking forbidden sentences inside a mosque. I stepped closer to the hallway. Her voice was low but urgent. Please, I told you I can't talk long. She's here. My heart stopped. I moved closer, silently, carefully, until I stood right outside the bathroom door. Her voice trembled with a mix of fear and excitement. Baby, I miss you too, but not right now. No, I swear. She almost saw your message. My breath caught. Almost. No, sweetheart, I did see it. Then I heard a giggle, a soft, shy giggle I never heard from her before. I'll meet you tonight. Yes, the same place. My throat tightened. Tonight, same place.
I pressed my hand to my mouth because I felt my body preparing to break, to collapse, to scream, but I held it all back. I swallowed every emotion like it was poison, even though it already was. A few seconds later, I backed away quietly, returning to my room as if nothing happened. She emerged 2 minutes later, pretending she just washed her face. Her eyes widened when she saw me, surprised.
Oh, Andy, you're here? I thought you were in the kitchen. Her attempt at casualness was so forced, it was almost insulting. Just folding clothes, I said softly.
She nodded too quickly. She walked past me with speed, almost as if distance could hide guilt. But she didn't notice. Her phone screen lit up as she crossed the hallway. A name flashed. A name I recognized. A name I never thought I'd see connected to her. And whatever was left of my heart cracked. Not fully broken, not yet, but cracked enough that I felt something sharp inside me shift forever. I stood frozen, staring at that name that belonged to someone who should have never been anywhere near my sister, someone who had once belonged only to me. And in that moment, a strange calm washed over me. Not anger, not shock, not even grief, just clarity. They were lying, both of them, actively, together, right under my roof. And I whispered to myself, barely audible, all right, if this is how you want to play, I'll let the truth reveal itself. Because suddenly, for the first time in weeks, I wasn't confused anymore. I wasn't powerless. No, I was awake. That entire evening felt like I was living outside my own body, watching myself move, cook, clean, speak, all on autopilot. Inside, something had changed. Something had settled into place. Not peace, not acceptance, but clarity. A quiet, cold clarity that comes only when a person finally stops lying to themselves. I kept replaying that name on her phone. His name. A name that once felt like home but now sounded like a curse. I didn't want to think about him. God knows I didn't. I didn't want to go back to the nights I cried over him, begged him for honesty, waited for closure he never bothered to give. But now the pieces were aligning in ways I wish they hadn't. The unanswered calls, the sudden distance, the excuses, the late nights he couldn't explain, and his disappearing acts followed by soft, "Sorry, I was busy" messages. And all this time he wasn't busy. He was with her, my sister. The betrayal came in layers like knives, one after the other. I moved around the kitchen preparing dinner, keeping one eye on the clock. It was 7:42 p.m. If she was meeting him tonight, she would start getting restless soon. Her tells were always the same, tapping her foot, fixing her hair, checking her phone every 2 minutes. And on cue, she appeared in the hallway dressed in jeans and a pink top she rarely wore, pretending she was just getting comfortable. Her voice was too casual. "Undi, I'm thinking of stepping out for a bit."
Going to the store? We ran out of shampoo.
Shampoo? At 8 p.m.? With her hair already washed and blow-dried? Lie number 1. I pretended not to notice. "हाँ, ठीक है, लेकिन ज़्यादा लेट मत आना." Her phone buzzed. Her eyes flicked towards it like a magnet. She hesitated before responding. That hesitation was everything. Then she flashed a quick smile, guilty, nervous, excited. "I won't be long." Lie number 2. She slipped into her sandals and left, closing the door softly behind her. I stood still for a minute, listening to the silence she left behind. My chest rose and fell in slow, steady breaths. Because now it was my turn. I grabbed my shawl, my keys, and followed her, keeping enough distance so she wouldn't notice. I've known her footsteps since she was 5 years old. I could track her through a storm. She walked fast, turning into the narrow street near the old bakery. My heart beat thudded as I watched her from half a block away. She stopped, pulled out her phone, typed something quickly, and then, from the opposite direction, he appeared. My ex, the man I once thought I'd build a life with. Tall, calm, the same familiar walk, wearing the same cologne that used to stay on my clothes after every hug. The same slightly crooked smile, except now. That smile wasn't for me. It was for her, my sister. He didn't even look guilty. Not a hint of shame, not a flicker of hesitation. He walked straight to her, hands in his pockets, eyes shining in a way that stabbed me. Mariam looked around nervously, panicking at the thought of being seen, but he reached out and gently touched her arm. And she melted, right there, on the street, in public, without a care in the world for how this would destroy me. I stayed hidden behind a parked car, every part of me trembling, but I didn't cry. Not yet. He leaned close and said something I couldn't hear, but she laughed, soft, shy, the same way I had once laughed around him. My stomach twisted. Then they started walking together, side by side. Too close, too intimate. She wasn't going to buy shampoo. She wasn't going to any shop. They were headed towards the same hotel I once saw on his bank statement months ago, the one he swore was for a friend. I covered my mouth with my hand as heat rushed to my eyes. But still, no tears. Not yet, because what I felt now was bigger than pain. It was confirmation, proof. No more wondering, no more guessing, no more giving benefit of the doubt. They were cheating. Together. against me. I stood there for several minutes after they disappeared around the corner, the night air heavy on my skin. My hands were cold, my feet numb, yet my mind clearer than ever. And in that moment, something inside me hardened. This wasn't just betrayal. This wasn't just heartbreak. This was war. A war I didn't start, but one I was fully prepared to finish. I slowly turned and walked back home, each step steady, each breath deeper. When I reached my house, I stood at the door for a moment, letting the stillness settle around me. I looked around the living room, the same place we shared tea, laughter, stories, lies. I sat down and placed my hands flat on my lap, and finally, my eyes burned, my throat closed. The first tear slipped out, then another, then the dam broke. I cried silently, shaking, burying my face in my palms, not because of the man, not because of the breakup, but because of her. Because my sister, the girl I raised, the child I protected, the person I loved more fiercely than anyone, had done this to me. Her, not him. That was the deepest cut. But even through the tears, one thought was crystal clear. Tonight was the last night Mariam would ever think I was blind, or weak, or unaware. Because now I had seen everything, and everything was about to change. The next morning, I woke up to the sunlight spilling across the living room floor, but the warmth didn't touch me. My mind replayed last night's scene, Mariam and him, side by side, smiling in the street, careless, reckless, indifferent to the destruction they were leaving behind. I didn't eat breakfast. I didn't check my phone. I didn't call anyone. Instead, I sat at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug of tea that had gone cold long ago, and I planned. This wasn't going to be a confrontation born of tears or rage. No, this had to be precise, controlled, emotional, yes, but calculated. They needed to see the truth reflected back to them clearly, without my voice trembling, without my anger distorting it. By the time he returned from work, Mariam was already home, lounging casually on the sofa with her phone in hand, smiling at some message I didn't need to see to know the contents of. I entered the living room deliberately, every step slow, measured, like a soldier walking into a battlefield. "Good evening," I said softly. Both of them looked up startled. Marcus's brow furrowed. "Marielle, you're home early." I smiled faintly, though there was no warmth in it. I decided to take the day off. Mariam's eyes narrowed. There was suspicion there, maybe even fear. That flicker of unease pleased me. I poured myself a cup of tea and sat down directly across from her. Not beside her, not at an angle, directly. "Care for some tea?" I offered, not waiting for an answer. Both of them sat silently, watching me. Marcus with guilt plain in his eyes, Mariam with thinly veiled arrogance. I took a slow sip, and then I began. "You two have been very busy, haven't you?" I said calmly, almost conversationally. Mariam's smile faltered. Marcus shifted in his seat. "I know everything," I continued, tone steady, voice quiet, but cutting. I saw you last night walking down the street together. I know exactly where you were going, and don't think I don't know the pattern. I've been watching. I've been collecting everything. I placed a folder on the coffee table. It contained screenshots, bank statements, and photos from last night. Every little detail they thought was hidden. Marcus's face turned pale. Mariam's mouth opened and closed as if searching for words she didn't have. You manipulated someone else to pretend she was pregnant. You lied, you threatened, you schemed, all to make yourself feel important, to make him choose you over me. And yet, you think you've won? You think I don't see you? Mariam leaned back, crossing her arms. You don't understand. Don't. The word was soft but final. Don't. This isn't about justification. It's about consequences. Marcus swallowed hard, guilt written in every line on his face. He opened his mouth to speak, but I held up my hand. Let me finish. I leaned forward, voice calm but fierce. I want both of you to look at each other and be honest. Right here, right now. How much damage have you done, not just to me, but to yourselves? Mariam's eyes flickered. She wanted to lash out, to deflect, to insist she was the victim. But Marcus's steady stare on her, filled with disappointment and truth, seemed to freeze her. I continued. I trusted you, Marcus. I raised you both with care, attention, and love. And you betrayed that. All of it. Not once, but repeatedly. And you, Mariam, you betrayed your own family, your own blood. And for what? Mariam's gaze dropped. That flicker of arrogance and superiority was gone. In its place, fear, vulnerability. The mask she wore for months cracked. I leaned back and let the silence stretch. Let them feel it, the weight of all they had done. Then I spoke again, softer now, almost reflective. You think hurting me will make the world bend to your needs. You think manipulation will give you control, but it doesn't. It never will, because the truth always surfaces. And tonight, last night, was only the beginning. I picked up the folder and handed it to Marcus. You need to see it all, Marcus. Every little lie, every step, every person involved. No more excuses. He took it, hands trembling slightly. Mariam's face was pale now. She looked as if she might cry. I didn't feel sorry for her. Not yet. Not while the betrayal still stung. Then I stood, letting the silence stretch further. I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to scream. But this ends today. You either face the consequences of your choices, or I do it for you. And I promise you, the truth, the real truth, will not be buried. I looked at them both for a long moment. You wanted attention. You wanted to feel powerful. You got it. But don't mistake this for weakness. This is clarity, and it's stronger than any lie you ever told. Miriam's phone buzzed again. She didn't check it. She didn't dare. Marcus looked at me, finally meeting my eyes. Guilt, fear, and relief all mixed in his stare. And I knew one thing with absolute certainty. This was the turning point. No more lies, no more manipulation, no more pretending. The battle wasn't over, not yet, but the ground beneath their feet had shifted. And I had never felt more in control. The next few days felt surreal, like living in a movie I didn't want to watch but couldn't turn off. I kept the folder on my desk, every page a reminder of the betrayal, every screenshot a testament to their audacity. I didn't have to do anything dramatic. Just having the evidence gave me power. Miriam avoided me. She stopped pretending to be carefree around the house. Every time she passed, her head dipped slightly, eyes refusing mine. The confidence she once wielded like a weapon had crumbled, replaced by shame. She wasn't crying yet, but I could see the tension in her shoulders, the way she moved like a cornered animal. Marcus, on the other hand, was silent. He hovered, careful not to step on my boundaries. He tried to speak once, softly, but I held up a hand. I wasn't ready for excuses. Not yet. I only wanted honesty. A full reckoning of everything that had happened. The first consequence came at work. I sent Marcus a text one morning. You need to clear this with HR. Everything you did can affect both your reputation and hers. At first, he hesitated, but after seeing the folder, seeing it all laid bare, he realized he couldn't avoid responsibility. He confessed to HR that he had been involved in deceitful behavior with a coworker, my sister, trying to manipulate others and compromise professional ethics. HR launched an investigation, which was uncomfortable for everyone, but justice began to unfold. Then came the social consequences. I didn't have to tell anyone what happened. Miriam's actions spoke for themselves. Friends who had once whispered in admiration of her suddenly stepped back. The cracks in her carefully built facade were obvious to everyone. The woman she had used to stage the fake pregnancy finally spoke up on her own, and suddenly the web of lies unraveled in the open. It wasn't revenge I sought, it was transparency. The truth had a way of making the world right on its own. Inside our home, peace returned slowly. Marcus and I didn't immediately fall into easy rhythms. Trust had to be rebuilt. We had conversations that stretched into the early hours, laying bare all the doubts, all the fears, all the small cracks in our marriage that had made space for betrayal to root. But every conversation, every confession brought us closer. Clarity had a strange way of healing. Miriam moved out shortly after. Not because I demanded it, but because the weight of her lies made staying impossible. She called once apologizing, saying she needed time to figure out who she really was, who she could be without hurting others. I didn't reply. I let her go, because sometimes closure comes not from words, but from action. I took the next few weeks to focus on myself. Early morning walks, evenings spent reading in silence, cooking meals for me, not for anyone else. I allowed myself to grieve, not just the betrayal, but the sister I had lost to envy and deception. And slowly, that grief turned into understanding. I understood that her actions were not about me. They were about her own pain, her own need to be seen. And that realization, harsh as it was, freed me. Marcus stood by me, quietly, without grand gestures. The first time he hugged me after everything, I felt the weight of the last year's pain lift just slightly. It wasn't a perfect moment. It was real, tentative, human, and that was enough. I reflected often on the lessons I had learned, that trust, once broken, can be rebuilt, but only if both parties are willing to confront the truth. That love and family can be complicated, even dangerous, but honesty is always the foundation. That forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, it means acknowledging the wrong, learning from it, and deciding not to let it control your future. And that sometimes those who hurt us the most are people we love deeply, but their actions say more about their own wounds than ours. One evening, I sat on the porch with a cup of tea, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Marcus joined me, wordless at first, sharing the quiet. The world was calm, almost ordinary, and yet in its ordinariness, it felt extraordinary. We had survived storms I never imagined, and now, finally, we could breathe together again. I thought of Miriam. I thought of the other woman. I thought of all the moments that had led to this reckoning, and I didn't feel anger anymore, not the sharp, burning kind. I felt a gentle clarity, a knowledge that life would go on, that healing was possible, and that I was stronger than I had ever believed. And then, softly, almost to myself, would you have faced them the way I did? Would you have let the truth unfold instead of confronting it blindly? Sometimes the hardest battles aren't fought with anger. They're fought with patience, observation, and courage. I looked at Marcus. He looked at me. We didn't need words. We understood each other in that moment. The lesson of betrayal, manipulation, and deceit had been painful, but the lesson of truth, clarity, and healing had been far greater. I took a sip of tea, feeling the warmth travel down my chest. The world outside was quiet, but my mind was loud with reflection, gratitude, and resolve. And in that quiet, I knew no matter what storms came in the future, I would face them with open eyes, steady hands, and a heart unafraid.